On Thursday, President Trump will be joined by Administrator Lee Zeldin to formalize the rescission of the 2009 Obama-era endangerment finding. This will be the largest deregulatory action in American history. Tomorrow afternoon, the president will hold an event in the East Room to tout clean, beautiful coal as America's most reliable and affordable energy source.
Coal. Okay, well, we live in hell, and the Trump administration is on the verge of absolutely gutting environmental regulations that, help to protect humans and the planet from total destruction, from being unlivable. Anyway, it is largely thanks to a small group of conservative activists who didn't come up with this idea yesterday. This is something that they have been working on for years behind the scenes. And it looks like they're gonna finally get what they've been wanting. So as Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, announced today, the administration is planning to repeal an Obama-era scientific finding that essentially serves as the foundation, the basis for all federal greenhouse gas regulations. So the reversal targets the 2009 endangerment finding, which concluded that six greenhouse gases pose a threat to public health and welfare. The finding provided the legal underpinning for the Environmental Protection Agency's climate rules, which limited emissions from power plants and tightened fuel economy standards for vehicles under the Clean Air Act. Now, here's the thing. The automobile industry didn't ask for this. I want to be clear about that. The car industry did not ask for this. And in fact, it is likely that the car industry will continue moving in the direction of electric vehicles and, doing what they can to curb emissions, because they want to be competitive on the global stage. And other countries have stricter regulations than the US has ever had when it comes to climate. We do know other countries have no regulations at all. But the US doesn't necessarily dictate what the car industry does when it comes to moving toward cleaner vehicles, okay? But that doesn't mean that other industries will not take full advantage of a rollback in climate regulations. So the Trump administration is formally denying that greenhouse gases are harmful by pursuing this effort, which will allow them to erase limits on emissions from cars, power plants, and other polluting industries. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin straight up said in an interview, this amounts to the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States. Wow, that's great. I'm cool with deregulation if it makes sense, but we're talking about the air we breathe. We're talking about the planet we live on. And I am gonna say, I do think that there was a lot of hyperbole and extremist thinking when it came to some on the, climate science left. But they're not representative of all climate scientists, not even close. And there is a climate emergency. Okay, I think that the solutions that we've heard from our lawmakers have been total garbage, whether it's on a state and local level or a federal level, because it's all about putting the onus on individuals to do something. But in this case, we're talking about, again, the foundation for federal regulations on industry. So I have no doubt that we will find ourselves in a position somewhere down the line where the reality of the climate emergency will be so severe that all of those annoying laws that impact individuals will be far worse. Okay, will be far more restrictive, but let's wait and see. Anyway, the final rule is set to be made public later this week. There will be legal challenges, but obviously this is being seen as a major victory for the fossil fuel industry, which, if you can remember, during the presidential election, Trump convened all of the top oil executives, fossil fuel executives, and essentially told them, you give me enough money, I'll do anything you want. And this is certainly something the fossil fuel industry wants. Now, the Environmental Defense Fund, a nonprofit advocacy group, has said that rolling back the endangerment finding would eliminate some of our most vital tools to protect people from pollution that causes climate change. The group said the administration was trying to steer Americans toward dirtier, more dangerous, and more destructive air, including by, I guess, turning back to coal. Like we don't even need to do that. We don't even need to do that. Like, why aren't we being serious about pursuing nuclear energy? It's the cleanest, most reliable form of energy. We're gonna go back to coal? There's no imagination. Okay, there's no real vision for the future when it comes to this guy. And it's not just Trump, it's like a lot of our politicians. They don't give a damn. The homeboy's 80. He's gonna be dead soon, okay? You can tell he could care less about his family, okay? But for all of the other goons out there who are also of age, and they actually tend to love their family members, their kids, their grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever it is, what are you leaving behind for them? Because your money, their inheritance, isn't gonna save them from the destruction that we're gonna do to the climate, to the air, to the water. But hey, the fossil fuel industry, not rich enough, not wealthy enough, not affluent enough. The administration claims average Americans will benefit from this because, it's gonna produce more oil and gas. That's gonna drive down the price of oil and gas, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it over and over again. The United States is the top oil and gas producing country in the world. We're number one. We're also the top exporter, of course. But the idea that our biggest problem right now is that we're not drilling enough or fracking enough is insane. It's just not true. And conservative activists are behind this. So let me tell you who they are. An overwhelming amount of scientific evidence does prove that greenhouse gases are harmful. So overwhelming, in fact, that even some climate change skeptics have started changing their minds on this Obama era rule. But a group of 4 conservatives kept pushing for this, okay? So 2 of them, Russell Vought and Jeffrey Clark, were high profile allies of Donald Trump. Vought, who has railed against climate alarmism, and Clark, who has called climate rules a Leninistic plot to seize control of the economy, drafted executive orders for the next Republican president to dismantle climate initiatives. The other 2, Mandy Ganeshakara and Jonathan Brightbill, were conservative attorneys with long histories of fighting climate initiatives. So Ganeshakara is known for handing a snowball to then Senator James Inhofe. This was back in 2015. It was such an embarrassing moment on the Senate floor. He literally held a snowball to prove that climate change isn't real. Anyway, in the summer of 2022, as Biden and Democratic lawmakers were ramping up their climate efforts, Ganeshakara and Brightbill sought $2 million for a secretive campaign to kill the endangerment finding. And that's according to a funding pitch that was obtained by Field Notes, a watchdog group that investigates the oil and gas industry. So the lawyers wrote in their funding pitch that conservatives needed a comprehensive strategy for reversing the endangerment finding on day 1 of the next Republican administration. The campaign would operate in secret, and they have been operating in secret, that's for sure, to prevent media and other conflicted sources from shaming participants and undercutting the work before it is done, they added. Because they're little bitches, that's why. That's why they're little bitches. They got to do things in the dark of night because they know what they're doing is wrong and they don't want to suffer the consequences or the backlash for it. But make no mistake about it, these men are cowards because if you really believe in what you're doing, you'll stand on business, okay? I believe in everything I say. I might get things wrong, and if someone makes a compelling argument that shows me I'm wrong, I will change and I will say sorry, okay? But everything I say, I actually believe, and I will say it in a room full of people. I will say it on a panel show. I will say it anywhere. I don't hide my cards. You see exactly what I'm thinking, exactly what I want to do. These men are cowards. Operating like this, pathetic.
You know that moment right before you launch something new, that pit in your stomach? I remember when I started TYT, I thought to myself, what if no one watches? What if we run out of money tomorrow? It was scary. Still think about that every once in a while, but you push through, and having the right tools makes all the difference. Like when we launched Shop TYT, Shopify was a lifesaver. We used it and we loved it. If you're starting a business, those what ifs can be terrifying, and that's where Shopify comes in. What if I can't build a good looking website? Shopify has hundreds of templates to build a beautiful online store that actually matches your brand. What if people haven't heard of my brand? Shopify helps you to get the word out with easy to run email and social campaigns. What if I get stuck or have a question in the process? Their award-winning 24/7 support is there with expert advice. And the best part, that iconic purple Shop Pay button. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Less abandoned carts, more sales for you. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.